What the hell are we supposed to use, man? Harsh language?
What's up? We're back again.
Mm-hmm.
Last week's episode didn't
Just
make
the two of us.
Yeah, just the two of us. We will miss Marvin for today's episode, but the show must
COVID
go on. Nah, he doesn't actually have COVID. I think he's just busy, but it's all good.
No, COVID toe. It's a completely different thing.
Oh, what is that then? Enlighten me. I don't know what that is.
It's a meme
from
the sports world.
I see. So how was your weekend?
It was pretty good.
Yeah.
Finishing up these shows that we've been watching.
I made a lot of headway this week.
Nice.
I'm fully caught up with Mayor of Kingstown, which is getting kind of crazy.
Yeah, it is.
I actually was going to ask you this, but I guess since we're on the air, so to speak, I'll ask you here. But what's the deal with the fucking bad guy in that show?
Which one?
The fucking
Milo?
Milo. Maybe I don't remember, but it doesn't. I feel like they never really established his beef with Mike. I remember in the first season, he tasked Mike to go out and find his buried treasure or whatever, which he's now wanting back, the bonds. But what is his relationship with Mike? How does he know Mike? Like, where does that even... I feel like they've never really explored it, and I'm always confused.
Have, no.
I assumed they met each other when Mike was in prison, but it's never been really explained, so I'm just like...
Maybe, or the McCluskey family has something to do with him being incarcerated.
It's got to be something like that. But yeah, anyway, I figured I would ask, because I was... Like, every time he's on... Like, that he's mentioned, I'm very confused about it.
Right.
Like, I get that he's a bad guy, but in what way is he related? Like, in what relation?
But I guess in that
have?
world, yeah, when you're swimming with the big fishes,
the sharks.
Yep. Exactly. You're gonna come across the big one every now and again. That's gonna fuck your world up, because that's the world you're in.
Yep. So I'm super caught up on that. That last episode was pretty fucking great. Our boy Bunny getting ready to fucking start a war. Probably did start a war at this point, because they put the hit out on what's his name, the hot-headed
the
SWAT guy,
the door kicker,
yeah, which rightfully so. We've seen him be a piece of shit for a majority of the show now.
Right. He is the hand of justice that most people don't want to talk about.
I like that the show's kind of put, because we know Taylor Sheridan, right? He always speaks on issues that are not spoken about a lot, especially in Yellowstone.
Right.
Especially with Native American relations and stuff like that, and to the government and all that. This is something that we do hear about quite often, and that's the abuse of police power, and he is that character. He's a SWAT team guy, and he just fucking shoots people with absolute impunity. He's like a shoot first, ask questions later type of guy. And now seems like he's
easier paperwork to fill out, it would seem, in that city.
Yeah, he's getting his comeuppance. I wanted to ask, I don't know if we talked about it last week, but what did you think about last episode with the other cop, the co-writer of the show, where he brought the fucking serial killer to the dude's house?
Oh, right, the Of Mice and Men type.
Yeah, like
scene,
what the fuck did he think was gonna happen there? Like, I knew that was coming, obviously.
Right.
Or I knew something was gonna happen. But it seems like such a dumb thing that nobody would ever do that.
Yeah, I don't know. It was completely dumb, but they wanted to fit in Of Mice. I don't know. Maybe he's a big fan of the book.
I don't know. That seems like very out of the realm of like reality, but whatever. It's TV, so it's not really reality. But yeah, that show's fantastic. I don't know how many episodes are left. Maybe like 1 or 2.
I think so. 1.
But yeah, I caught up on that. I watched the first episode of Perry Mason. This season 2 started on Sunday. And that was pretty good. I watched the first 2 episodes of Mandalorian. I gotta say, I'm a little over that show. I don't know about you.
Really? I thought it was all right.
That's the
I find the
thing.
intrigue of going to Mandalore interesting. I mean,
Well, for sure, it's got some cool stuff, but like the core of the show is the same thing. It's like he has to do something somewhere, and
mhm.
then he goes there, and it's like there's all these like little obstacles along the way.
Yeah, it's a little spaghetti western.
Yeah, and that's cool and fine, but now we're 3 seasons in. I'm kind of like, oh, I don't know, maybe the appeal is starting to wear off. I didn't not enjoy it. I didn't think the first episode was all that good, to be perfectly honest. The second episode was much better. And
Well, we're starting to see more crossovers. There was more crossover between Mandalorian and Boba Fett when they came their last seasons. We're going to see more of it now, even with Ahsoka.
Well, Boba
So-
Fett's also in this season,
Mm-hmm.
and they got what's her name, the other chick, the rightful ruler of Mandalore or whatever. She's from the royal family.
Yeah, royal family.
And I know she was from the Clone Wars, I think, or she was from one of the animated
Yes.
series, one of the Filoni
Mhm,
series.
The Clone Wars.
But I'm curious to see where this season goes, mainly because we talked about it last week, but the episode didn't make it due to technical issues. But
What is that? Is that 3 now?
that's 3, yeah.
That's 3.
Hey, listen, they're bound to happen. We're 40 shows
What
in.
episode? Yeah, we're okay.
We're
Yeah.
almost 50 shows deep, so listen, shit happens. But
We
anyway,
would be 50 shows deep.
no, we would be like 43, I think, maybe. But
Okay.
anyway, yeah, so I had read rumors, I don't know how true it is, but it seems like it could be true, that last season, apparently Kathleen Kennedy kind of stuck her nose in and forced rewrites on the season, which is why Grogu leaves Luke's Jedi training and then chooses to go back with Mando.
Right.
And apparently our boy Favs got really pissed off and was like, nah, that's it. Like, I'm done. Like, after this, I'm gonna work on Ahsoka and then I'm done. And apparently to keep him on, she was like, all right, you have full control over season 3.
Well, I think also we talked about on the news several weeks back, like she's basically, they're not going to renew her contract.
Yeah.
when It's up.
And the only reason I think it could possibly be true is because, you know, she's been known in the past to tamper with the fate of the Star Wars universe, and sometimes not in the most positive ways. Now, she's also like the fall guy for everything that goes wrong with Star Wars, so like I'm not gonna fully shit on her, but either way, I don't know. I'm curious to see where it goes. But I think originally Grogu wasn't supposed to leave Luke, so I'll be.
So he gets massacred with all the other one,
Hey, I guess later on,
all
right?
the other trainees that Luke gets killed.
Yeah, I guess so. But
The story.
yeah, I don't know. We'll see where it goes. But yeah, I watched the first 2 episodes. I'm like, on it. And I have like 2 more episodes that I'm gonna watch tonight after we record for Superman and Lois, which season 3 drops tomorrow.
Nice.
We're recording this on Monday the 13th, so it drops Tuesday the 14th. I'm excited for that. Season 3 looks fucking good. I don't know if you've watched the trailer for it.
Mm-mm.
And of course, I watched the finale of Last of Us last night. Let's talk about it a little bit. What'd you think?
I think you articulated it pretty well last week.
Yeah.
When we talked about it. Nobody's going to hear that discussion. But you're saying that the way that they've told the story so far, they've kind of rushed a little bit that the bodyguard arc, or whatever this arc is that Joel and Ellie are on, you don't really get to the sense of it like you do in the game, and so it doesn't hit the same at the end when all that shit goes down, because
it couldn't have, really, at the end of the
Right.
day. And I'm curious. I'll be curious to see what Marvin has to say about it. So as soon as we're back together with him, I want to talk about it further. But because I'm curious how that ending lands for people who aren't familiar with the game.
protector arc is the word I was trying to look for there.
Not.
Yeah.
I don't even. It's not really I don't know if I'd call it a protector arc. It's like literally a father-daughter arc, right?
Yeah.
Like you meet Joel. Joel is clearly established from the beginning as a broken man, right? Because his daughter died, And then later on in the game and in the story, he admits to Ellie that he tried to kill himself unsuccessfully because he realized, he thought was like, what's the fucking point of going on? Like, the world is broken. I'm a broken man. I have my daughter's lost. Like, what's the fucking point? And Ellie says to him something along the lines of like, oh, like with time you learned how to like live again or something like that. And he says, no, it wasn't time that did it. Saying basically, no, it was you that did it. Like, you're the one that healed me. So it's this transformation into a like, it's like got 3 stages. It's like, job, I'm gonna deliver you to get you where I'm going.
Yeah,
so I can
it's
get a car
the protector
battery.
arc that turns into the
To protector,
father-daughter.
then
Yeah.
to father-daughter.
Well, that's what his job was, though, was
Yeah.
to protect her and get her there.
Right.
So,
So, and the father-daughter thing, I think, is made very clear in the show. It's just what I was saying is like the deeper nuances to it, with all that emotion and feeling and stuff, you don't really get a sense of it in the show because it's told in 9 hours as opposed to 15 to 20 hours in the game that you spend with them, and you're fighting fucking monsters and bad guys and you're scrounging ammo and fucking shit. At least if you play on the hard difficulty, they give you limited ammo and you're finding parts to make bandages and like stay alive and all this stuff. And as I've said before, in a video game, like, you are the character you're playing in a sense. So it hits you much more emotionally. And by the time they hit you with the scene that we got in the finale, which made me weep, but the giraffe scene, it's such a huge moment in the game because it's like, and there's a lot of little moments like that in the game, but it's just a moment of calm in like this fucking crazy, like, shitstorm situation that you're in. And, it's a beautiful scene in the game, and they did great in the show too. It's just like, it's just missing that little extra that you
Right.
could only get by that point in the game. You've played for 12, 13 hours at that point, so it's just different. But that being said, I mean, I think they did the best job they possibly could have with the time that they decided to do it in. Again, I don't know why they decided to do it in 9 episodes. Normally HBO does 8. I think the show would have done really great with like 1 or 2 more episodes at least.
Yeah.
And then there's the added thing too, is that like they chose to, out of 9 episodes, they chose to give 3 episodes really where they veered away from the Joel and Ellie story to just give us an Ellie backstory, a Bill story, and another Ellie story where she's off on her own. And I get that those things are meant to and do in some ways strengthen the Joel and Ellie thing. But I would have liked to just have spent more time with Joel and Ellie at the end of the day. And I know
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, and I know your big complaint for the show, and Ed's as well, shout out, is that
Shout out.
there were like almost no infected in the show. Minus like 1 or 2 moments. There's a couple, but
Craig and Druckmann actually addressed that, I think, a little bit. I don't remember where was that, but they were basically saying, the way we wrote the scenes, it's different than playing the game. You play the game, your kill counts, triple digits.
Mm-hmm.
And we felt that the story, the way we wanted to tell the story, some of those fight scenes just didn't really fit the narrative of what we were trying to say. But it still feels like you didn't see them fighting for their lives too much against. I mean, at the end of the game, you're basically a professional and you know how to sneak around with, like, even a sneaking around them scene.
Yeah.
Like we know what these things are. We know how to get around them quietly because you sneak around them in the game and shit. We didn't get any of that. So it was, they said there'll be more in season 2. Season 2 will probably go more than 1 season, and they're going to do a little bit of their own twist on it, I guess. So
I saw something posted today on Twitter. I don't know how true it is, but a buddy of mine sent it to me asking me if it's true. And he was saying that, hang on, I'm pulling up the post here because I thought it was interesting. I don't think, there's no way that all this information is like available yet, but Basically, the tweet says, The Last of Us Season 2 will be different from the games. Bella Ramsey will return as Ellie, will have much more infected, will cover The Last of Us Part 2 story, won't cover the whole second game. Filming could start later this year. New kinds of infected are coming. Will expand upon Tendrils system with infected. Could see the inclusion of spores. Abby and Ellie changing perspectives. Side character stories just like Bill and Frank, i.e., blah, 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 blah. Release date will likely be 2024, 2025. Time skip. Joel and Ellie's relationship post season 1 ending will be heavily explored. Ellie's violent path. Okay.
Yeah, it feels like they wanted to take season 1 and make it as true to the game as they felt like they could.
Yeah.
And that's with part 2 of the game, season 2. It's not just going to be season 2. They're going to take more liberties for themselves to tell their own version of the story with differences, it sounds like. So season 2 and 3 and maybe even 4, like, I don't know how long they're going to draw it out, but
I think that would be a mistake, in my humble opinion.
Well, if they do take their own liberties, do they change the way? I mean, is Joel?
Probably. That's like the heart of the story. Don't say it.
You think they keep it the same?
Yeah, that's the heart.
They keep the spoiler the same.
Yeah, for sure. You have to. Even Bella Ramsey said it. She kind of slipped a little bit. She was being interviewed, and she was like, "Whatever. Possible spoilers. Don't fucking turn the video off if you don't want to watch. If you don't, or skip ahead." But I won't say it directly. But she was in an interview, and she was like, "Oh yeah, I'm really excited to get back to Canada and start filming with Greg and Pedro." And she's like, "For a little while at least," and then continues to go on her thing. So I was like, so yeah, I'm sure they're not going to. But that's the thing. I don't know what they're going to change then if that's the case.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, they're taking their own liberties. But I mean, I thought it was a pretty good season. It was very disappointing, the lack of infected, but what are you going to do?
I mean, I get where they're coming from with the infected. Because, and I said this to you, playing devil's advocate, the infected are very much just like they're just like map hazards, essentially. They're just there to kind of get in your way. When the real drama and the real danger is like the human encounters that they have, right?
Well, it's both.
It is both, but I'm saying yeah, I guess. But
bloater's a real danger.
That's true. Either way, though, it's those experiences that bring them closer together. It's them fighting for survival at every step of their journey together. You don't really see them fighting for survival in the show. You know and understand, like, yeah, they are, but that's because we as a culture are trained to know that based on the mountains and mountains of content we have in a post-apocalyptic story.
Well, even Marlene said it, like, in the episode. She's like, how did you do this? Like, I came with the whole squadron and they all fucking died and they had almost killed me. Like, you brought her this far and it was just you two. Like we didn't really get to see that struggle, which really puts a nice little bow on the story in the game because you lived that struggle by fighting hundreds and hundreds of enemies.
And based on what Marlene says, you understand that, like, it's because of their bond that they were able to survive.
Right.
It was because of their tightness that they were able to, like, get through all the things that they got through. So, yeah, definitely, I think the one, I don't know, gripe, I guess, I have with the show is that by the end, they didn't fully sell me on that relationship. Now, I checked with people who watched it that didn't play the game, and they all loved it, and they were like, "Oh man, he lied," and da, da, da. But they're not really fully experiencing it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I need to ask my roommate because I don't know if he watched the last episode yet or not, but he's not played the game, so I need his take because I have not talked to him about it at all.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you guys haven't been watching it together?
We started watching it together, but we finished it separately. I don't even know if he's watched the last episode.
That said, I think they did the best they could with the time that they were given. It's certainly the best video game adaptation we've ever had, I think. And it was a fantastic show, like, no question. Pedro was great. Bella Ramsey was great. Pretty much everybody who appeared in the show was great. And yeah, they did a really good job with it, but it's not the game is really what it boils down to.
It's definitely not.
Which is fine. I mean, that's fine. It couldn't have been the game. Again, it's a different medium. It has different time. It has different way to tell a story. There's a lot of stuff in the game that is just you guys walking in the woods and you're talking to one another, where you as Joel have a choice to like respond to her question or statement or something like that. So
yeah,
it's a little bit different.
It's hard to do that character development in a show.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on board for season 2 at this point. I hope they don't change it too much from the game. That's when things get, me. I fucking can't stand when writers start to take liberties because that's when things start to go bad. But as long as Neil Druckmann, I think, is a part of it, They
did it with The Witcher.
Yeah, well, don't even get me started on The Witcher. But yeah, I mean, people seem to love it. It's getting a great response from audiences, so I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to drag it out like an extra season or 2. Personally, I think the second season.
Well, it'll definitely be 2. Is it going to be 3?
I think it has to be 2. There's no way they could fit everything in the second game into one season. They barely fit everything in the first game into one season. So,
yeah, it's definitely 2 seasons. The question is, will they push it 3 seasons?
Yeah.
Will they milk it?
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, I really liked it. It was nice to see Ashley Johnson make an appearance in this episode. We knew obviously she was cameoed. I didn't think they would have had her be Ellie's mom. That gave me a nice little cry.
Yep.
It was very sweet and on the nose that she's Ellie's mom because she is Ellie in the game. Right? It makes sense. She essentially created the character, so
Ellie the First. Yep.
Yeah. So that made sense. Like, I just cry hearing her voice. It's like unbelievable. So yeah, no, I really liked it. It's got a 9.1 on IMDb. I think I would probably give it like an 8.5. What about you?
8.5. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, that's fair. I can't wait to see what Marvin had to say because Marvin, like me, when he calls her baby girl in the previous episode, Marvin was like, I don't know if I didn't really feel it when it happened. And I didn't either. I was like, oh, that was kind of out of nowhere. And in the game, it's a big moment. I think you could even hear, what's his name, talk about it. Who's the voice actor that played Joel again? His name is like...
Oh, don't ask me that. I don't...
God damn it. I know his name. I'm having a brain fart. Anyway, he said in like HBO does like all those like after show thingies. And I caught his on his Twitter and he said that like the baby girl thing, he actually came up with it when they were voice acting. And he did it naturally when they were doing the scene where Joel is dealing with his daughter's death and he picks her up after she gets shot and he says, it's going to be all right, baby girl. And Neil Druckmann was like, what is that you said? And he repeated it and he's like, that's what you're going to call Ellie. So it was like an organic decision and it represents him accepting Ellie as his daughter. And again, by that point in the show, you're just like, I get it because I've watched the game. I played the game, but like, I don't know. Doesn't sell too much, but whatever. It was fine. I liked it.
It definitely didn't hit the same, but it was still a good show.
Yeah, for sure. All right, 8.5s out of the both of us. That's pretty cool. That's good praise. Maybe that's the highest review you've ever given anything. I don't know. No, it's not.
Beverly Hills Cop.
Oh, okay. All right. Did you write them down? You take notes?
No, I just know I gave that one a 9.
Okay. Yeah. So, big week this week. Oscars was last night, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about.
Did you watch them?
I didn't watch them, no, but
I didn't either.
Nobody got slapped as far as I know this year, unfortunately. Jimmy Kimmel could use a slap.
Kimmel made a comment about it, I think.
Did he?
Yeah.
He's like so fucking unfunny. And the thing about it is, like, I used to love The Man Show when I was a kid, when it was on Comedy Central. And it's funny to me that they both went on to become like cringe in their own right. Like one's like a fucking, I'm not even going to get into it, but you know what I'm talking about. They're both pretty fucking cringy guys. And the more I think about it, The Man Show is also kind of cringe, like by today's standards. And I just don't think either of them are very funny. And Jimmy Kimmel's like just not
very
funny.
chauvinistic.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go over the Oscars. I'm not gonna do every single category, just the ones that the bigger ones.
They were swept basically. He had Best Picture, Best Director, Best Original Screenplay, 3 out of the 4 acting categories, as well as Best Editing.
Yep,
going to one single movie. So
yeah,
that's pretty much the Oscars.
That is pretty much the Oscars. Visual effects, obviously, no surprise. Avatar won that one.
Right.
All Quiet on the Western Front won original.
I actually
score.
watched that today.
Was it good?
Yeah, it's pretty good. I
want to see it. It's a remake of an older movie, right?
Yes. Epic military movies can sometimes be a little bit hard to watch because it's all the same shit. It's just about the characters being on the backdrop of a war.
Mm-hmm.
That was good. Yeah, acting was really good.
Okay. Yeah, so that one Best Original Score. I'm a little disappointed that Fabelmans didn't win because I thought it legitimately had a good score, but of course because of John Williams.
Right.
We got the
Fraser won for The Whale.
Yeah, he won Best Actor. Costume design.
He got the 4th category. Yeah.
Yeah, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever won Best Costume Design. It's interesting. All Quiet on the Western Front won Cinematography. I'm surprised Everything Everywhere All at Once didn't pick that one up. Production Design: All Quiet on the Western Front. We just said the Daniels won for Best Director for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Michelle Yeoh won as leading actress. Everything Everywhere All at Once, which I'm really glad she won. Obviously, we've talked a bunch about and we will again, but all the stories that go into this movie, like off screen, and hers was one of them, and how, she basically has said several times that she basically trained her whole life for this role in the sense of like being an actor and not just a martial artist.
Right.
So I think she really deserved that role. She was very good. And Michelle Williams was really good too in The Fabelmans. So they were pretty neck and neck in my book. But like you said, Brendan Fraser won The Whale, of course. No surprise there. Everything Everywhere All at Once, Best Screenplay.
Women Talking got Best Adapted Screenplay.
Yes.
That's one of the only ones I think I haven't seen that was a winner.
Yeah, I haven't seen that either.
The documentaries or the shorts.
Right. Ki Kwan won actor in a supporting role. Everything Everywhere. Jamie Lee Curtis won. My girl.
Yep.
Got called a racist on YouTube because I wanted her to win.
You did.
I got to be honest too. After so watching it a second time, I'm standing by my choice too. Stephanie Sue was like really fucking good in that movie, but Jamie Lee Curtis was fucking great in that movie. Like they were both really, really good. And I know people are saying like, "Oh, Jamie Lee Curtis was barely in it," but for the moment, that's why I think her performance is so great because she was in it quite a bit. She's in it quite a bit, but I guess people feel like she doesn't have as big of a role as Stephanie Sue, which
she didn't have the lines, but she does a fuck ton of acting.
Yeah. So that's great. Just being a fan of hers in general because of Halloween, and of course, her whole career, I think she's just great, and I'm glad that she won it. And again, Stephanie Sue is a great actress, so we'll see her
first,
again.
Is it
her first Oscar? I feel like it might be. You could double check. But Stephanie Sue is a great young actor. She's gonna be around for a long time. I'm sure we'll see her nominated again at some point. So, and of course, Best Picture, Everything Everywhere All at Once. So that's pretty much the rundown of the Oscars. Not a lot of surprises there, and there very rarely are in the Oscars unless there's a fuck up and the wrong movie is awarded, and there's like awkwardness on stage. Remember that one year with fucking that one movie? I can't remember the name of it.
That one year with that one movie?
No, like 2 or 3 years ago, they announced the Best Picture, and then it was wrong, and the whole fucking cast and crew were on stage to celebrate. And then somebody came to the mic and they're like, we're sorry, there was a mistake. The winner's actually, I think it was the what the fuck? It's something with like a train or I can't think of the name of it. It was like an all
Train
black
to
cast.
Busan.
No.
Yeah, I don't remember that, but I've never paid much attention to the going-ons of award shows. Apparently, that was her first Academy Award.
Yeah, I thought so.
She won a BAFTA for Trading Places, and she won a Golden Globe for Anything But Love and True Lies. She got a bunch of SAG and Critics Awards, though.
She should get a fucking Career Achievement Award.
Lifetime Achievement Award.
Yeah.
She actually probably will.
Well, yeah. Well, I don't know. We'll see. And you know what the greatest thing?
They gave it the lady from Mrs. Doubtfire. She's the one that got it this year.
Oh, Forrest Gump's mom, Sally Field.
Yeah, Sally Fields.
Yeah.
She got the Lifetime Achievement Award.
I didn't watch her. I got to watch the speeches. I've only seen Ke Quan's and Brendan Fraser's, but my favorite thing about Jamie Lee Curtis is that no matter how many great movies she's been in or how much she's achieved in her career, she's still, every chance she gets, will credit John Carpenter and Halloween for giving her a career. So I think that's awesome. Yeah. So that's the Oscars. What do you got in the way of news this week, Dusty?
Before we get out of the Oscars. Apparently Kevin Conroy was snubbed from the In Memoriam segment.
No, was he?
Fans were pretty upset. So they were celebrating after the Oscars. Giving him his due.
That's actually kind of fucked up.
Yeah, it is.
Speaking of Kevin Conroy, I meant to send you the video, but you never respond to videos I send you. And there was a guy on.
I don't, not TikToks, no.
No, but sometimes I'll
YouTube.
No, but sometimes I'll save the TikTok so you don't have to open TikTok, and I just send you the video raw. Right. But you don't even respond to those either, because whatever. But anyway, I saw a TikTok of some guy. He was like, "Oh, I'm lobbying to be the new voice actor of Batman," and it's him doing an impression of both the Joker and Kevin Conroy. And I swear to God, if you closed your eyes, you wouldn't be able to know the difference. He sounds identical. Yeah, it's crazy.
Some random guy?
It's random to me. I'm not familiar with him. I don't know if he's a professional, like, working voice actor. I'd imagine he is. Or if he's just some dude who could do voices. But good Lord, is it accurate? It's crazy.
Interesting.
But that's kind of fucked up that he got snubbed. TBH.
Yeah. What's the guy's name from Jensen Ackles? He's done some comic book stuff. I think he's tried for Batman a couple times. I don't know if he's gotten Batman, but he's talked about it.
I feel like he did.
He said he'd love to do it. He probably has. A lot of people have, but I don't know. I know he's done voiceovers in the Batman universe. I just don't know if he's actually done Batman.
Gotcha.
But yeah. Not a lot of news. Speaking of Batman, we'll go to WB first because this is really the only piece of news I have from them this week. Batman the Caped Crusader moves to Amazon with a 2-season order. This is something that they were making for HBO Max, but this is, I guess, part of Zaslav's mission to get IP on other places to make money off of it that way.
Hashtag
this was
Snyderverse on Netflix. I don't know what the hashtag is. But...
Oh, yeah, that's right. Hashtag Snyderverse on Netflix. This was the J.J. Abrams, Matt Reeves, and Bruce Timm show. So the guy that did the original Batman animated show is involved.
This is supposed to be...
It was like shelved last August, I want to say, because of the whole shakeup things we're going to have.
This is supposed to be, as far as I understand, a sequel to the Batman animated series that we all know and love from the 90s and early 2000s.
Yeah, it was supposed to be. I don't know what they're going to do with it now.
Or at least all the same
people
successor.
Are still... Right, spiritual succession, for sure. All the same people are involved, but instead of coming out on HBO Max, Amazon's ordered 2 seasons. So Bezos throwing money around for that WBIP.
Speaking of nostalgic superhero cartoons, I saw on TikTok the voice actor of Wolverine from the X-Men 97 series, he posted a video of him in the recording booth, like doing the Wolverine voice.
Nice.
I'm quite excited for that. I just hope fucking they don't Marvel Phase 4 the shit.
Yeah. Speaking of, I guess we'll just move on to Disney.
Mhm.
Bernthal confirmed his return to the MCU in an Instagram post. So we are getting Bernthal. We're getting all of them back, I think, except for they recast Fisk's wife. They've confirmed that they're
Okay.
not going with who they went with in the Daredevil show. And then Foggy and the what is her name? The other girl that the secretary.
Karen.
Yeah, Karen. They're not going to be in it. Foggy and Karen will not be in it.
Thank God. Foggy is so fucking annoying. Guy spent 3 seasons being like, but Matt, me, you're gonna kill yourself, me.
Yeah, it was not.
Bro,
the
your
best
friend's a
of
fucking
characters
superhero, dude. Shut the fuck up.
in that show.
Yeah, Karen was also pretty annoying, though I think she was great in Punisher. I don't think she was that great in Daredevil. I'm super fucking hyped that they're bringing Punisher back. And I know there's some concerned fans out there, Ed being one of them. Ed is like so not excited for anything Marvel anymore because it's all been like so lackluster lately. He's like, they'll probably fuck it up. So he's like, he's going through some shit right now. But also everybody seems to be worried that like they're not going to go the full like rated R with Punisher.
I think Bernthal said he's not going to let them fuck up the Punisher.
Yeah, and also like everybody just calm the fuck.
I think that was probably one of the conditions of I'll do it, but you know.
Well, also everybody just calm the fuck down. Like we already know they're making a Deadpool 3. They're not gonna just, and we already know that they're making it rated R. Like they're okay with doing rated R stuff. Like just chill out.
Right.
Have a little bit of faith, you know. So yeah, that's exciting. I'm a big Punisher fan, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
And not because I'm an angry white guy, but because I think he's a great character with a lot of depth that people often misunderstand and happen to misuse his. Oh, the misuse of his logo is egregious. Fucking
yeah, it is.
Fucking cops using that shit. It's like, bro, consider yourself lucky. Frank Castle's just a comic book character. Okay, that's all I gotta say.
Yeah, I don't think he'd be happy with that.
Mm-mm.
People wearing the thin blue line flags and
the thin blue line, and then there was also the Trump head with like, or it's the Punisher skull with Trump's hair.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Thin blue line and the Gadsden flag.
Yeah.
Anywho,
well, hold on real quick. Speaking of Disney, I've spoken about it, and I'm pretty sure you've reported on it, but I just want to say it again because I can't remember when or where we said it. But I recently read that Bob Iger, you talked about him coming back. Apparently, his first act has been canceling the Patty Jenkins Star Wars movie, which was Rogue Squadron.
Yeah, they've shelved. Yeah, they've shelved the Patty Jenkins and Kevin Feige Star Wars projects.
Yeah,
he spoke at Morgan Stanley's 2023 Tech Media and Telecom Conference.
LOL.
Right. And what he basically said was during the next 5 years, Disney's going to reevaluate whether certain characters need sequels or need to be brought back at all. There's 7,000 characters in Marvel. There are a lot more stories to tell. What we have to look at Marvel is not necessarily the volume of Marvel's storytelling, but how many times we go back to the well on certain characters. Sequels typically work well for us. Do you need a third or fourth, or is it time to just turn to other characters? So that sounds like we are now in the Marvel phase that everybody was worried about. We're just going to grind through characters and do the same format, or rinse and repeat, just new characters, new characters, new characters.
I actually disagree. I think that's the way I interpret that, and I'm trying to also, I'm trying to also gauge the current or latest environment we've been in with Marvel stuff. That sounds to me like he's coming in to fix an issue.
Yeah, and it definitely is an issue. I mean, if we look at how many movies have 3 or 4,
Mhm.
I mean, Captain America, his movies are arguably some of the best in the MCU.
Yeah.
But other than that, you have Thor and Ant-Man has 3. There's not
Well,
Iron Man has 3. And I get it. Like especially if you're signing on actors, so you would say, okay, we'll give you a movie, a solo movie, a sequel solo, and you have to appear in 2 of our crossover movies, big event movies.
yeah.
Like that's like a 10-year plan for an actor. So that kind of makes sense. It just sucks because the fans get to know these characters and like these characters, and you have to kill them off
Mhm.
because you can't keep them or you don't want to make so many movies with them. And that's where I
Well-
have trouble with Iron Man never showing up in the MCU again.
Well, it's also, I mean, I guess you have to, as a fan, get past the fact that it's not the comic books, right?
Yeah, sure.
The same rules don't apply.
Right.
And I'm cool. I'm cool with
They
that.
actually get old and die.
Right. I'm cool with that. Also, it's hard for a human being to know where their life is going to go in 10 years. So totally fair for an actor to be like, whew, this has been a lot of fucking work. I kind of just want out of it. And we're seeing a lot of that happen from, Chris Evans was the first, Robert Downey, Tom Holland now is saying like, okay, like maybe I'll step back a little bit. Like it's a lot of fucking work and it's a lot of your time and a lot of your life. Hugh Jackman has talked about it. Fucking Chris Hemsworth is now talking about it. So
I mean, he talked about it for personal health reasons because
yeah, for sure.
Before he found out, he said, this is the character I was born to play, and I'll fucking play it until they don't let me anymore.
And I totally get that. But basically, what I was saying is, it seems like Bob. If you look at like the past, like Phase 4 stuff, obviously it's all been pretty much lukewarm. At least to people I know, you, me, Ed, like people who have seen it.
Well, yeah, they hit a couple of big speed bumps.
It seems to
COVID
me,
hit.
Yeah, COVID hit. Finding their footing.
Chadwick, they lost Chadwick.
Finding their footing with new characters. Following up like a 10-year fucking giga crossover story thing with a very compelling villain. There's a lot of stuff that they were battling in Phase 4, but I think ultimately it's pretty plain to see, and you even reported on this, of like the Feige burnout, like he's spread too thin. And if what was the last guy's name? Bob, not Bob Iger, the guy who
Chapek.
Bob Chapek. If he was there, I mean, he's an executive, right? And no matter how good Kevin Feige is or how much he loves the characters or any of that stuff, he still has the answer to his boss, right? And
I think Chapek was more hands off than Iger, though.
I'm not talking about even creatively. I'm just saying, like, yo, Kevin Feige, your shit makes us a butt ton of money. Let's double that next year. Give us 4 movies and fucking 3 shows. Like, that is impossible to quality control, and I think that's been the issue. You could just tell. It's like, the writing has been weaker, the direction has been weaker, the CGI has been weaker, the stories have, like, everything's been weaker. And
yep.
I've mentioned this before, and I want to talk about it again. I was just watching Kevin Smith's podcast. They reviewed Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. And Kevin Smith loves these movies, and he's not the type of guy that's going to go out and, like, he says it all the time. He's like, I'm not going to talk about something that I don't like. That's why you only hear me say good shit about these things, because I like them. But even he was like kind of lukewarm on Ant-Man. He's like he didn't outright shit on it, but he was just like, yeah, he's like, I don't know. He's like, I don't know that Ant-Man was really the right movie to premiere Kang in, like, your next big bad. And then he went further and basically said what we said, like, leading up to Thanos, you got little breadcrumbs of Thanos until he first appeared. Fucking 22 movies in, he first made his technical first appearance in Infinity War, right? Where he's like a human physical body, like doing stuff in the film, not just sitting in a chair or like doing a one-liner. And like, by the time you get to Thanos, it's like, oh my God, like he's fucking here and he's not fucking around. This was just like, hey, here's Kang. And it was just like, it just felt so much different and so weird. And it's like, how does that happen? And I feel like the only way that happens is when you don't have the guy who had the singular vision, who was hands on everything, meticulously crafting this shit. If he's just like had to take a step back for one reason or another. That's the only way that I could see it. So hopefully Bob Iger coming in here and like,
well, maybe that's kind of the essence of Kang, though, too. Like in the comics, before they just recently established like his like canonized backstory, he would just show up at times, be a villain that was a pain in the ass, and they thought they'd beat him, and then he was gone. But because he's Kang, he would just come back at later times. So showing up randomly, like, "Hey, this is Kang, I'm here." Like, this is kind of something that Kang did in the comics.
I get it, but again, not the comics, and it's not compelling in a movie form. In a comic book, it works because these things go on infinitely. In a movie, it doesn't work. You see how effective Thanos was, like with the breadcrumbs and stuff. Like you're telling a story that's leading to something. And as I've said, I've made the complaint. Everything we've gotten in Phase 4, save for Spider-Man, was, and a little bit of Black Panther, was just like specifically existed to set up the next thing. And I think
I think Kang is a baby villain built up to Doctor Doom.
I don't think so.
No,
I think Kang. There's been an internet leak, so to speak, of the plot of Secret Wars, and if correct, it suggests the Kang that we saw in Ant-Man is gonna. He went to the Beyond realm, and he's gonna come back as the Beyonder to kill all the other Kangs, because as you know, the Kang variants have their one code, if you could call it that, is they don't kill other Kangs. That's why they banished him to the quantum realm to begin with.
Right.
And he's going to come back, kill everybody as the Beyonder, thus proving that he's the ultimate Kang, and then he's going to create Battleworld and all that shit. But it's like, I don't know. Either way you slice it, I don't think Ant-Man was the right movie for this guy. Ant-Man's like a funny, comedy, bubbly type of thing. He just didn't fit in this movie. In fact, Kevin Smith said the same thing too. It seemed like Jonathan Majors was acting in a different movie when he was on screen. That it just didn't fit the plot. So I don't know, whatever. We'll see. Hopefully hopefully Bob Iger.
Yeah, no, I think Kang survives for a while in the MCU, but I think he gets so strong that whoever is in the MCU at the time is going to have to turn to Doctor Doom, and he's going to help him kill him, and then he's going to be
whatever they do.
Like,
sure,
but pull the rug out from under him.
Either way, if this is your next big bad, this isn't they just didn't introduce him effectively. Like I get that he shows up from time to time and yada yada, but like you didn't get a sense of his power level. You didn't get a sense of what his abilities are, what his motivation is, other than he wants to conquer things. Like you just got no sense of the character. And again, comparing it, by the time you meet Thanos, you fucking know what his deal is. You know why he's there. He's like, I'm here to fuck shit up now because you guys have been fucking a thorn in my side. And like, I want the Infinity Stones because I want to do this very specific thing. You meet his daughters and they have like very complex feelings towards their dad that are differing and stuff like that. It's like, it was a whole different thing. This, I get it's the first movie, but like, I don't know. Whatever. Either way, hopefully Bob Iger comes in, realizes like quantity over quality is not the answer, and they correct the ship a little bit. They have a chance.
Yeah. He also made some comments because of the reports that like we were talking about Patty Jenkins and Kevin Feige's movie projects being shelved.
Yeah.
He says, we're still developing Star Wars films. We're going to make sure that when we make one, that it's the right one. And so we're being really careful there. And that's why we're getting Star Wars shows after shows.
Yeah.
And no movies, because they know they kind of shit the bed with the last trilogy.
Yeah, and that's the stuff that I want to hear. And it sounds like
and Han Solo was apparently a little bit disappointing for him too.
Yeah, that movie, as far as I heard, wasn't very good. I didn't see it.
It's not bad. It just didn't do as well as they thought, I guess. I don't know.
And I think that's, seems like he has the same mindset for Marvel as well. Like, when you quoted him, he's talking about characters. It's like, maybe there's 7,000 characters. Maybe we like do something more popular rather than fucking.
I'm kind of like on cruise control with the MCU until we get to the X-Men. Then I hope they do the characters justice, because if they don't, I'm gonna be a sad man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen. I said this to Ed. You don't make 22 movies that are pretty much all bangers by accident. Like something was done correctly. So hopefully they could get back to that.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
So on to the next piece. Marvel filed a request in the Federal District Court of California asking the court to issue a subpoena.
Oh,
Something we were talking about just now. To compel Reddit to identify the person, primarily user MSS mods and or groups responsible for sharing the dialogue from the Quantumania to the Marvel Studios spoilers subreddit. Because apparently they also filed a DMCA claim with Google because somebody shared it on Google Docs. Looks like the likelihood is that this was text intended for subtitles and somebody that was translating it leaked it online, because I believe the initial leak was Portuguese. So there was that's why they knew some of the dialogue for Quantumania.
I see.
And so Marvel is starting to not like the Redditor leakers.
Well,
but
I mean,
it's gonna happen.
Yeah. I mean, there's no way you keep the shit secret. They had to fucking cut fake trailers for Spider-Man to
right.
That was clearly you could see somebody was cut out of it, you know?
Yeah. They reached out to Reddit to see if they would comply, and they did not get a comment. But
interesting.
Speaking of Reddit rumors, according to a post on the Marvel Studios subreddit, a Nomad TV series is being planned for Disney Plus. Scarlett Johansson and Chris Evans will both serve as producers as well as the main stars.
I thought he was Nomad so is this going to take place in between Civil War and Infinity War?
Possibly.
It would have
could
to
possibly be multiverse. It could be something along the lines of his journey through taking the stones back. But
I think it'll take the fact that she's in it, it tells me that it's set in between those timelines.
We'll get to see some of the little stuff that happened.
Well, because when he shows up with her in Infinity War, the assumption is that he had been Nomad, because in the comic books, Nomad is when he renounces his title as Captain America.
Yeah.
And he comes back with the star ripped off his chest, sleeves rolled up, fucking bearded out of his fucking mind. And Black Widow takes place in between those times as well. So it would only make sense to me if that's the time they're working with. But that's fucking dope. I'm excited. You know me, I'm a fucking Cap stan.
Yeah.
Love me some Cap.
I think Feige was talking, I don't know who he's talking to. I was reading this. It wasn't really newsworthy, but he was talking about how of all the characters, Chris Evans' portrayal of Captain America is up there with Christopher Reeve's portrayal of Superman, and that you're not just they are the character. It's them
Chris Evans.
They're not just the embodiment of it. Yeah, that's them.
Yeah, Chris Evans is a really good guy. He is Captain America. If you go,
a lot of people doubted him because he did the Human Torch thing, but he was a lot younger.
Yeah, for sure.
And it was a little different.
I mean, listen, all their castings thus far have been spot on. Can't count out Robert Downey Jr. That dude literally is Tony Stark in real life.
Yeah.
Other than the tech and stuff, but he's just, a lot of those castings were perfect.
All right, so on to the etc. news. Have you seen The Room? You ever watch The Room?
Yeah, it's a great movie.
Tommy Wiseau. It's a 3.6 on IMDb. So bad it's good.
Yep.
Did you see this news?
No.
Okay. Did you see The Disaster?
Mm-hmm.
The Disaster Artist? The one with okay.
That's a great movie.
So Bob Odenkirk confirms he is starring in a remake of The Room for a charity called the Foundation AIDS Research. Apparently this is put on by something called Acting for a Cause.
Are they getting Tommy Wiseau to direct it?
They I don't know how much he's involved. They usually do Zoom style readings, green screen, and then they make cuts of it into a movie.
Yeah.
But apparently this is going to be a full production style.
Interesting.
In the studio. And Bob Odenkirk said he would only do it if he could read the lines as if he was trying to get the part and not be satirical about it. So we're going to get to see Bob Odenkirk
in a serious remake of it. Question though, real quick. I need to double back. that Nomad thing was confirmed, like 100%.
No. That's a Reddit post leak.
Oh, it's a Reddit leak.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe that's why they're cracking down on the leaks.
Yeah.
Because the one that I said about him coming back as the Beyonder, that was also a leak, but apparently it's by the same person who leaked the plot of Endgame, which was largely accurate.
Right.
They got a mole in their fucking ranks.
That's a leak and ship.
Oh, yeah.
They got lots of leaks.
You know they have their own cops, right? Like they have like Marvel cops.
Oh, yeah.
And they also, I forget who said this. Somebody I saw say it. They actually like put code language in their scripts. So if any information gets out, they know like where it came from. So the code word, let's say if you got a script for a Marvel film, the code word in yours is like completely unique to you. So if you leaked it and that's in it, they're like, oh, it was Dusty. Go get his ass, Marvel cops. So, yeah.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, back to Scarlett Johansson. She's in a rom-com.
I saw that.
Her, Penelope Cruz, Owen Wilson, and Michael Fassbender.
And there's a rom-com coming out with Chris
Nancy
Evans
Myers
as well.
Yeah, saw that too. I think the trailer came out for that one. I forget what the name of it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a $130 million rom-com budget. Seems kind of excessive for a rom-com, but it feels like it's going to be another action adventure rom-com where it's
those seem to be pretty popular at the moment.
Yep.
The one with him and it's him and what's her name? Come on, brain. Ana de Armas. It's called Ghosted action rom-com, but it's an Apple original, and by historical standards, it means it's going to be a banger because Apple has only made bangers thus far. I'm a big rom-com fan, though. So
I haven't seen everything they've made, but
no, I haven't. Everything I've watched is a banger. Let me rephrase.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a big budget for a rom-com, but that's cool. I like rom-coms. Need some love.
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit last week. I think they overdo the action adventure ones. Feels like they're all kind of like Red Note, like let's just put some big names together. There might be some romantic interest, but it's mostly going to be funny and explosions and satire.
Oh, Michael Fassbender's in this too?
Yeah.
Did you say that?
I said, Dan.
Sorry. Yeah, I missed that.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, this Nancy Myers, she's made a lot of like rom-coms in her life, so I mean, whatever. The Holiday, she wrote The Holiday. The Holiday is actually a good movie. Sometimes I get on like I'm a big rom-com guy, and sometimes I get on these like rom-com kicks, and I'll watch them like a bunch in succession, and I had never seen The Holiday, so I watched it. It's actually not bad. Like, it's not the best movie in the world, but it's actually pretty good. It's Kate Winslet, Cameron Diaz, Jude Law, and Jack Black. And, and basically, like, her and Kate Winslet's from England, and she's, like, depressed because the guy she loves doesn't love her back. So she decides to go on a holiday to the U.S., and Cameron Diaz is, like, a workaholic who decides to go on a holiday to England, and they basically swap houses because they both put their houses up on, like, fucking Airbnb or whatever. Or they meet online, actually, and they agree to, like, swap houses. So they go, like, stay at each other's houses, and then they both meet people and fall in love while they're in the other country. It was a good movie. Anyway, Nancy Myers, she knows what she's doing.
Rom-com vet.
Yeah. And she made The Intern, too, which is another really good movie. Not a rom-com.
It is.
But a great movie. I actually love that movie. Robert De Niro is so fucking good in that movie. Even though he's good in everything. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, that's it for the movie, unless you really want to talk some domestic numbers, I guess. Scream 6 made $44 million.
I heard that was really
number one.
Yeah, really successful opening. And from what I haven't seen any official reviews on it, but from the little things that I have heard, it's actually getting really good reviews. It's got a 7.4 on IMDb right now.
Nice.
We might have to maybe check that one out.
Yep.
I did not like
Creed
Scream.
3 made 30 million. It's up to 100 million. You didn't
Yeah.
like Scream 5?
No. Didn't we watch it together? We did.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, did not like it.
No.
But this one, I don't know. People are saying it's fucking good. Might have to check it out.
65 made a whopping $12.3 million in its opening weekend.
Yeah.
People are apparently not pleased with it. I don't know. I'm kind of interested in watching it because it's basically a very similar like Protectors type arc, I guess, as The Last of Us.
Yep.
Except it's different actors.
On
so we'll see.
Kevin Smith's podcast, his co-host Mark Bernardin talked a little bit about it, and he said it's really not that great. He said it's not like, it's cool because it's what's his name and he's a good actor, but
Right.
he's like the story it's like what you would expect from that kind of movie, like
Fun popcorn flick.
just like if you like. He said, I think his exact words were like, if you want to hang out in the woods for a little bit and like, you get what you'd expect, like jump scares and things like that. He's like, yeah, it's fine.
Killing dinosaurs.
Yep.
And then Cocaine Bear rounds out the top 5. Ant-Man 4. It's only made 7 million this weekend. Cocaine Bear only made 6 million, but it's up to 51. So that one apparently is doing pretty good too.
Right.
I know you said you're not a fan, but it's getting good reviews.
Cocaine Bear?
Yep.
No, I was a fan of it.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
I think when I put the trailer up, you were like, I don't care about this. And Mom was like, oh, this looks dope.
yeah, and then I watched it. Well, because I thought you were memeing.
Right.
And posting like something that's like, like a Sharknado type of thing. But once I watched the trailer, I was on board with it.
I think they're making a cocaine shark movie for sci-fi or something.
Probably.
Like that. This is gonna, and there was like somebody was posting memes about a leopard that ate some cocaine or something there. People are already going wild with it.
Right.
The bear thing really happened, but that's neither here nor there. So yeah, that's the news.
Sorry, I was texting. Thank you for the news, Dusty. Not a packed week, but with the Oscars and stuff, people, everything's gonna be quiet. People keep a low profile. But let's get into today's review. Speaking of the Oscars, we are talking about Everything Everywhere All at Once today. This is the second attempt at covering Everything Everywhere All at Once. We all watched it when it first came out. Around the time when it first came out, it wasn't right away. I think we watched it when it went digital. But I was not at all opposed to watching it again. And I gotta say, on my second viewing, I liked it even more than the first time.
Well, I'm glad we sat on it because we talked about trying to re-record it after we figured out the recording failed, and we were kind of like had that talk about the pros and cons of that first hot take and trying to redo it. I'm glad we let it simmer for a while, put it on the back burner, waited for the Oscars because it was good to rewatch it.
Yeah, and we're not covering it because it's fucking super hyped. Like it's legitimately like it's worth the hype. But so we wanted to talk about it for that reason. But so Everything Everywhere All at Once is directed by the Daniels, Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert. Written and directed by them. It stars Michelle Yeoh as Evelyn Wang, Stephanie Su as Joy Wang, Ki Kwan as Waymond Wang, James Hong as Gong Gong, the grandfather, and Jamie Lee Curtis as Deirdre Bubeirdre. And what a beautiful movie this is, honestly. Like I struggle to even like start talking about it because there's so much to talk about. But what I will start to say is I first saw the trailer for this. I think it was when I first saw. I think I saw the trailer for this in theaters when I saw Spider-Man: No Way Home, and I remember thinking to myself, I was like, well, this looks interesting, kind of like fucking wacky. Like, what could this be about? Having no idea whatsoever what it would be about, but obviously, I don't think anybody really expected it. Like there wasn't a lot of noise around this movie. Normally when a movie opens, it's like it got a huge opening and fucking everybody. This seemed to have pick up steam like slowly but surely. I could be wrong, but it seems like this movie like spread around like via word of mouth. Like, oh, have you seen Everything Everywhere All at Once? No, you should check it out. And it also came out around like a little bit closer to the end of COVID, so like people were still like warming up to the idea of like going back out to theaters and stuff like that. But man, I'm glad I watched this at the end of the day. So this is the story of this family, and there's some multiversal stuff. Not some. There's a lot of multiversal stuff. I made the joke back when we watched it. This is the real multiverse of madness right here. Fuck that Doctor Strange shit.
It's a good movie.
Really, Everything Everywhere All at Once. When you boil it down, it's a comic book movie. Almost. It's like pretty much is. But
absolutely, it is.
Yeah, but it does all the things that I've been complaining about that's been lacking in the actual comic book movies lately. This movie has fucking everything. It's got action, it's got heart, it's got drama, it's got fucking just comedy. It's
got some weird shit.
It's got some weird, wacky stuff that you half the time you're not even really sure what's going on. But I got to say, watching it again a second time, not only did I enjoy it more, but I actually understood it way better. Not that I didn't understand it when I first watched it. It's not really that hard to understand, but there's little things that you don't catch the first time you watch a film, obviously, because you're figuring out everything. Well, now you're going in with like, all right, I know the plot, I know where it goes. Let me really hone in on the small stuff. So this is a movie, basically it's about Evelyn, and Evelyn is she's not so happy with her life. Let's just say that she's living a bit of a humdrum life. She has a lot of interests and hobbies, as her husband Wayman mentions. She likes singing. She likes dancing. She gives singing lessons. But her main job, they own and live above a family-owned laundromat. And yeah, so she's
living her worst life.
Yeah, she's kind of not too thrilled with her lot in life. While Waymond, on the other hand, he is a kind, loving, forgiving, and understanding and patient man, as she explains towards the end of the film. And he's just happy being happy, living his life and loving his family. And, it seems that this has been the year of movies that frame the importance of appreciating the little things. We've talked about it a lot lately, but I don't think any movie does it quite as good as this one does. So basically what happens throughout the course of the movie, I won't go like super in depth into it, but Evelyn is contacted by an alternate universe version of Waymond called Alpha Waymond, because he's from the Alphaverse. And in the Alphaverse, they're dealing with a bit of a crisis. Some supervillain has risen to power, and he's been traveling the multiverse trying to find the Evelyn that could help. And he explains to her that these other universes, or life paths that he calls them, basically you're able to tap into them. And this is one of the things that I didn't actually realize on my first viewing. I thought she was actually like physically going to these places. It's not that. You're tapping into their mind and memories.
Yeah.
So she's still physically here in the main universe.
Correct.
So all those scenes where you're seeing the other events play out, it's a memory to her. Right. I don't know how I missed that on my first watch, but I now understand that. So happy about that. But Alpha Waymond explains that it's called verse jumping, and the movie blends these two very real theories of the multiverse in theoretical physics. You get the many worlds theory, which basically suggests that for every action, it creates an alternative branching timeline. It's the same theory that the Marvel movies use in their version of the multiverse with the sacred timeline and all the branching timelines and all that.
There's a split at every decision, yeah.
Right. And but this movie takes that theory and combines it with another multiversal theory called the bubble theory. And in that theory suggests that, picture a bottle of soda, and every little bubble floating around in there is a universe, and that theory goes a step further, and when two bubbles collide, it creates another bubble, which is another universe. So this movie blends some of those two things together, which I thought was really cool, and it makes for some creative stuff. Basically, in the movie, verse jumping, as I said, allows one to connect to other versions of themselves. It allows them to adapt their skills, their knowledge, etc. And in the movie, you have to meet specific parameters in order to successfully jump. So if our character wants to know Kung Fu, she has to imagine a universe where she knows Kung Fu and then do a silly thing to tap into that reality. And we've seen
something you normally wouldn't do.
Yeah, there's many examples throughout the movie. Putting a butt plug up your ass, or anything up your ass for that matter, eating a stick of fucking chapstick. Making yourself sneeze. There's like a lot of fun little silly examples that they do with that. So in the film, in order for her to know martial arts, I gave an example, but in the film, she has to profess her love for Deidre, which is the IRS agent played by Jamie Lee Curtis. Now, this is another thing that I didn't catch the first time around, and I may be wrong, so I wanted to bring it up because I want to know your opinion on it, but I'm pretty sure when she professes her love for Deidre, she creates the branching timeline where they're in love with the hot dog fingers.
Probably, yeah. I don't know if that's for sure, but I could see that.
They're not clear on it one way or another, but understanding these theories of the multiverse, it made sense to me on this second
Plausible,
viewing that's what happened. But every so often throughout the narrative of the film, in the midst of all this craziness going on with jumping back and forth, we get cuts back to our main universe. And sometimes it's a little confusing. And I think it's done on purpose. You don't really know kind of where you are. And then sometimes you like clearly know where you are. But when we jump back to the main universe, it's basically her dealing with her familial stuff.
And being audited.
And being audited, right. Which is part of the familial stuff, really. So we find out that Waymond petitioned for a divorce. He got papers drafted up and everything like that. And it's really heartbreaking discovery for her. And she doesn't really understand why. And we find out that he wanted a divorce because he hoped that it would spark a little bit of a fire into their marriage. And he says that, we never talk unless it's an emergency. And, I hope this would basically spark up a conversation for us to fix our marriage. But the heartbreak...
Well, he explains he was talking to somebody else who
in church
was having the same troubles and got filed for divorce, and it actually sparked a positive conversation.
Yep.
So,
but the heartbreaking thing about it really is that because of who he is, as I mentioned, he's like an understanding, like kind and like dedicated husband and just person in general. He's ultimately doing it for her because he feels that she would have been happier had they never gotten married. And he says this to her. And she says, I never said that. And he's like, I could just tell the way you look at me. So that's like a really heartbreaking moment. And there's another one when she gets a glimpse of her life as an actress, which we'll talk about a little bit more. She fucking crushes this dude. And she says, I saw my life without you in it. It was beautiful. I should have listened to my father and never gone with you. And he just like has this little whimper. Oh my God. I'm going to fucking cry talking about it.
Yeah, it's pretty cruel.
I don't even think she meant it to be cruel. I think she was just being honest. It's just, it's a hard, I mean, if you having to hear that on the other end is for sure, it comes off as cruel, but I don't think she meant it as that.
Well, she 100% meant it, but
no, I mean,
that's like
cruel.
In the middle of her arc. Yeah, she comes to the conclusion that, living the life she currently lives, which is literally her worst life, where every decision that she could have made, she made the wrong one. And in the alternate universe, the other decision became successful or whatever.
Or was she though? And we'll dive into that a little bit. So Evelyn, as you just mentioned, she dreams of being an actress in our main real universe. Well, our main universe, she always dreamt of being an actress, and she grew up with intense pressure to live up to her father's older traditions. Her and Waymond moved from China, and her father is a very old-fashioned Chinese man. And I know families growing up that are similar across many different nationalities, and these older generations tend to be more sort of like hard-assed in a way. And we see a moment when she's having memories of her life, and she sees a moment where she's actually just come out of the womb, and the doctor says to her father, "I'm sorry, it's a girl." And it's kind of funny, but not at the same time, because you realize, like, in these old traditional societies, like, women were and probably still in some cases are like looked down upon, and like
they don't really want you having girls in China.
Right, and every man wants to have a boy because they want to carry on their name and like their family history, and it's like all this like stupid traditional shit that I don't agree with, but that's the way it is. But she basically moves away from China with Waymond, and he chooses to open the laundromat. When we see that in this vision, he's the one excited about it, and she's kind of like, "Oh, okay." And it was all despite her father's disapproval. We get more detail later in the movie that, the dad, Gong Gong, he never wanted her to move away, and he was just basically a hard ass on her whole life. So she's living with this constant, lifelong feeling of never being enough for her father, never having, her father's approval.
Right.
And unfortunately, she carries that over to her relationship with her daughter, Joy. And, oh God, Waymond is just, he just fucking breaks my heart, dude, because he's just such a nice guy. And he's happy living the simple life. He finds joy in anything he can. He explains this later in the movie that how he fights is by being kind. And he says, there's so much shit in this world, so many fucked up things. He's like, this is the way that I know how to fight it. And he also sees the value in being a small local laundromat. When they first go to the IRS agency, her dad's giving her shit, and he's kind of like, oh, it's nice to be, what'd he say? It's nice to be needed. Like by the community, he means. And there's that little moment in the beginning of the film where she's looking for the customer's clothes, and he's like, oh, I moved them upstairs. I think they'd be happier there. And he's like, see, they're happier up here.
Puts the eyeballs on everything.
Yeah, so he just has this perspective of just like find the happiness in everything, which I really love about him. But speaking on the tension between Evelyn and Joy, Evelyn's not really disapproving of her daughter's relationship with what's her girlfriend's name in the film? Becky. She's not really she doesn't disapprove of the relationship, but she's still kind of a little embarrassed by it.
Because it's her
the traditions.
Father.
Yeah. She says when she introduces Becky to her father, she says in Chinese, Becky's a very good friend. And of course, Joy gets very offended and kind of storms off. But I think Evelyn doesn't really know how to relate to her daughter or like nurture her, because she was never taught that from her own father, and she moved away at a young age. So, it's not necessarily her fault per se, but you get why Joy is.
Yeah, she's living in the depravity of disapproval and the shadow of the cold shoulder. And she's passing that along a little bit to her daughter, because
for sure. And her Joy feels that her mom doesn't see or respect her really, and she's very overwhelmed with like her mom being sort of like a hard ass, and also really being, I guess, just a human being in general in the modern world with modern technology, because there's a lot of subtext of that there as well. But I really wanted to make sure we describe the characters because it's important for the rest of the film. But essentially, while we're exploring these multiverses, we find out that Joy is actually the villain of the film. Villain. And she is from the, this villain version of Joy is from the Alphaverse. And she's basically Neo. She because of all these experiments that Alpha Evelyn did on her. Alpha Evelyn was a scientist, by the way. She's the one who discovered the multiverse and discovered the technology to cross over to other multiverses. And she does these experiments on Alpha Joy. And because of all the testing, she kind of like overburdens her brain. And now Joy has the ability to basically, she's Neo. She controls the multiverse.
Cracked her teapot.
Yeah, she's the real fucking Kang. We were talking about Kang. She's the real fucking Kang. She could go. She basically Joy, Alpha Joy, experiences literally everything, everywhere, all at once. She's constantly experiencing every possible variation all the time. And this is actually represented in the film by this bagel, the everything bagel that Joy ends up creating, and she explains.
Had to be made.
Yeah, she explains like, I wanted to see what would happen if I piled fucking everything possible onto this bagel. And like I said, there's a lot of subtext for real life here too. It's like, you know, dealing with technology. Like we as people, we deal with literally everything everywhere all at once. I could pick up my phone and I have instant access to everything everywhere all at once. I have all the information at my fingertips. And I don't think in everyday life we don't realize how that actually affects us psychologically. We're seeing how it affects society psychologically.
Correct.
But it's certainly not a positive thing on our brains. I don't think the human brain is evolved enough to really deal with that amount of information, to be honest. But that's a conversation for a different time. But this is all represented in the movie by this bagel and by what Joy is actually feeling.
Yep.
But yeah, so, you know, Evelyn essentially placing her hopes and dreams and disappointments on Joy, and just the way her father did to her. And Joy has a hard time kind of expressing that to Evelyn and it causes that tension that we see throughout the film. But, you know.
Well, yeah, she's got a hole in her heart like that. The bagel kind of represents that too, is because yearning for that love and that guidance from the, you know, the paternal figure. Neither of them really had it because one was, you know, a brooding traditionalist and the other one was in the shadow of that despair. So created the villain.
Yeah, villain name, by the way, Jobu Tupaki, which there's some funny moments in that where Evelyn mispronounces it a lot and she calls her like Jojo Chewbacca or some shit. There's some funny stuff there, but this version of Joy, her mind is split basically in that way. She's being pulled in so many like wild directions to the point where that it gets to be too much. And by the end of the film, you realize that Jobu had really nothing to lose after that discovery and feeling the weight of the multiverse pressing in. And that's why she created the bagel. She threw her, you know, experiences, thoughts, just about everything she could think of on top of the bagel. Wanting to discover what would happen if all that chaos was in one place, as she describes it to Evelyn. And what she ultimately found out is that despite the entirety of the multiverse and all that was in it, nothing really mattered at all. And she says this a few times throughout the movie that, you know, all of this stuff, like nothing matters.
The ultimate question of life.
Yep. And it's why she wanted to succumb to everything. No, to the everything bagel's power. She wanted, it was basically a black hole, like visually in the movie, and she wanted to jump into it and take Evelyn with her. But, you know, a big part of her journey is learning that there's still hope, and that even though nothing matters, there are certain things, like in the film, a mother-daughter relationship, that are still worth fighting for, or the little things in life, right?
Yeah.
And there's this really great moment in the film too, where they end up jumping to a universe where the conditions for life were never met on Earth, and they're just two rocks.
Oh yeah, the rocks. Yeah,
and
it's a great scene.
And they're just sitting there staring out into like just this, you know, just nature and nothingness. Like there's no humanity.
Rock formations. Yeah.
And it's just fucking text dialogue. There's silence, and it's Evelyn and Joy talking to each other, and it was just that it's a beautiful moment, and there's no speech or anything, and it's pretty crazy how that worked out. I'll talk about it a little bit more, but I
don't know how I felt about it being completely silenced. I mean, I guess it kind of hits a little bit on the conversation because you're focused on, but you'd expect like maybe some wind noises or something.
There was a little bit, yeah. You hear the breeze, but when I say
Mhm.
silence, I mean there's no like spoken dialogue, and it's
Right.
basically, I think it's what you said. I think the goal was to just have the audience like focus on the dialogue itself because it's very important. It's Jobu telling Evelyn like, you know, like human beings are small and insignificant. We're fucking like these stupid fucking creatures on this fucking rock ball that are here by
Right.
accident, and like, early in our history, the majority of people believed that the sun was the center of all things, and they would
Yep.
kill people that argued otherwise. And then she says, there's a really great line: "Every new discovery is just a reminder that we're all small and stupid."
Yep.
But again, it really drives home that message of the film of like, we're so fucking insignificant on the grand scale of the universe that nothing actually matters except for the things that matter, right? Which I guess is subjective,
Correct.
but it's putting an objective spin on it. Like the things that matter are friendship and family and like those relationships with loved ones, because we're here for a small blip of time.
The fleeting moments of your own life. Yes.
Yep. So beautiful message for sure. But one of the things in the movie, in Evelyn's multiversal doppelgangers, they're all fairly accomplished in one way or another. And at the very least, each one had kind of chosen a path and stuck with it. We see the one that's essentially Michelle Yeoh in real life, a famous martial art actress. Good?
Yeah.
There's one that was like a fucking hibachi chef. One was like a sign spinner for like a pizzeria. We see many versions of Evelyn. So, again, success is a subjective thing, but each one had a path and kind of stuck with it. While Evelyn's own life was sort of up in the air and often unclear. She's going through tax issues with her business. She's, she wants to be this and that and has all these different hobbies, and she's kind of being pulled in all these different places. But crucially, Evelyn is just as chaotic as the events of the multiverse because she has all this like untapped potential, and all the other Evelyns have kind of settled in on their lives. But the primary Evelyn, she's all full of regret, as we said, about the decisions that she didn't make in life, and
stifled by it, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, and she lives this life that she didn't necessarily see for herself, and her feelings. She has these feelings of inadequacy,
And regret. Yeah.
Yep, and those haunt her quite a bit. But so I think those are where the main tensions come from with her and Waymond and her and Joy. I think they come from within her, right? How could you be happy with others if you're not happy with yourself? And we find out also in the film that Alpha Waymond chooses Evelyn to save the multiverse. He says to her because she's so bad at everything that she's capable of anything. And again, the first time watching this, I didn't quite, that conversation didn't quite land on me.
Right.
But essentially, no other Evelyns could understand what Jobu Tubaki was going through because their feelings of desolation weren't there. They were all doing the thing that they set out to do, right?
Right.
So
they all had more of a purpose than she did. She was the least purpose or duty-driven one of them all. So, yeah.
So in the Alphaverse, Alpha Evelyn was so hard on her daughter.
So purpose-driven that,
Yep. And it's something that that our main Evelyn was able to relate to because she had been the same with our main Joy. And she also carries her own familial trauma with her own father, disowning her after she married Waymond. And those emotions are what allow her to sort of, fight Jobu Tubaki on a level playing field, in a sense. And, ultimately all someone had to do was believe that Evelyn could do something, extraordinary, which Alpha Waymond did, seeing beyond what she saw in herself to make her the perfect choice to, bring the multiverse back into balance. And so yeah, I mean, there's a ton of fucking like below the surface symbolism in this movie and subtext and stuff, but ultimately, as we talked about a little bit, none of that really matters because like underneath all that stuff is just that really simple story about like a appreciating the little things in life and like why you should appreciate those little things, that like really nothing does matter. You know, if you owe money to the fucking IRS, like who fucking cares? You could fucking get hit by a bus tomorrow. Like it doesn't matter.
Yep.
And, you know, the film explores a lot how a person can be caught between like so many expectations and perceptions that maybe others have on them, and the constant barrage of things that life kind of throws at you that often requires so much of our attention. And in real life, oftentimes we forget to sort of just kind of take a step back out of those things, right?
Oh yeah.
So yeah, and you know, I kind of briefly mentioned the thing with like modern technology and society and stuff, but I think it has a lot to do with how much the digital age has sort of like changed the way people consume stuff. You know, I mentioned my phone. You know, I feel the same way.
Technology is both a blessing and a curse because, like you said,
yeah,
you know, you pick up your phone and you have, you know, this information
right
at your fingertips instantly.
Well,
and we as a society could use that to do so many great things, except because of corporate advertising and
media.
Media. We're driven to these ADHD driven ads where you're swiping and liking and clicking for about 30 seconds to get your dopamine up. And you're like, oh, that was fun. Let's do that again. And then you just keep doing it.
Well,
then you're in this sink of nothingness.
It's really telling that the two biggest forms of media right now are TikTok and YouTube Shorts, where there's 30 second to 1 minute videos where you're just like, okay, next.
You're swiping and liking.
Yeah. Relationships have been like fucking dumbed down to that as well, with fucking Hinge and what's the other one? Fucking I don't know, Tinder.
Yeah, Tinder. Yeah,
and like all this shit. But I think with Jobu Tupaki, she was forced to access like countless versions of herself and the entire multiverse, and that influx of information was so intense on her mind she couldn't take it anymore, right? So the ending implies that, you know, starts to feel like nothing really matters, and I think that's how we could get in real life too. If you're scrolling through Twitter and all you see is like fucking horrible bullshit, it's like, oh fuck, like God, nothing matters. But saying nothing matters is like the worst perspective you could have on life, right?
Well, sure. I mean, at the end of the day, if you want to go down to brass tacks, we're simply just molecules spinning around in space uncontrollably.
Yep.
Now, if you want to have a philosophical discussion of whether or not we have souls or spirits, or there's something within us, an energy that will, you know, permeate beyond these meat popsicles, that's a whole nother conversation. But
well,
I mean, it is chaos, and humanity of itself is not even a blink of the eye on the cosmic timeline. Like, we've been here on such a short scale that it's not even a blink.
Yeah, the universe, the known universe, the observable universe, and perhaps that information's about to change because up until now,
James Webb's changed it all.
Up until now, we've believed that the observable universe that we could see is 14.5 billion years old. But as you said, the new telescope has just discovered galaxies that we thought would be a certain age that are actually much older and more formed than what we once believed. So, and again, as she says in the film,
the insignificance of it all.
Every new discovery is just a reminder that we're small and stupid. But here's where I disagree with the nothing matters thing. And I don't know, I mean, maybe you can call this philosophical. I'm going to credit my boy Carl Sagan for imparting this belief onto me, or this worldview. It's called the cosmic perspective. That's what he called it. And obviously, there's the understanding that, yes, we are small and insignificant on the grand scale of the universe and perhaps the multiverse. But we're also very special because, as far as our observations tell us, life is very rare. We have yet to find another world where life is possible, even at a microbial level. There's places where we think like, oh, well, maybe this place could support life, but we haven't found evidence of that thus far. even at the microbial level, let alone a fucking grown ass fucking civilization the way ours is, right?
Yeah.
So
they did. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
well, I was just gonna say, so while we are, yes, insignificant, we are also special, and that cannot be forgotten about. And Sagan has this quote where he, we who speaks for Earth, basically, like we have a responsibility to our species and the planet to persevere and persist. And that's why, when people say to me like, well, so what? Like, who cares if fucking blah, 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 blah. Like, I mean, well, you should care as a human being, because there's like, no matter where, no matter what, no matter where no matter where any other life may be in all the universe, the only humans come from Earth. So like, I
Correct.
think that that's something that is important. And then you drill down into what this movie has to say, like it's something that should be respected and nurtured and cared for, and like your loved ones and just our existence in general. What were you going to say when I was going?
Oh, there's a scientific theory. I forget what it's called. It's like the wandering alien or the jogging alien. It basically breaks down. So they encapsulate Earth, the timeline of Earth from, we're just swimming around in the ocean,
right,
until we start spreading, and now we're apes and humans. On that timeline, if that's how long it takes for life to get to where it is, we're actually, Earth is kind of early in the solar system or universe timeline of like intelligent life being, like all the things that had to happen for us to be where we are is a rare occurrence. And so we may actually be ahead of the curve. And that's why we haven't seen intelligent life elsewhere, is because things just happened really good for us. And
well, right, there's a lot of
other life on other solar systems have not advanced as far, because
I mean,
the makings weren't right and it took a little longer.
Yeah, there's a lot of different, like, I guess, theories as to why life isn't like just flourishing throughout the galaxy. Well, anywhere for that matter. I mean, but really at the end of the day, like, the chances for life existing are so small. And I don't know if I've mentioned this here before, but like, it's likened to a fucking tornado blowing through a junkyard and forming like a perfectly functioning car. Like that, it's like, like that all the essential elements of like biology and fucking everything necessary for life to exist on Earth is so fucking small. Clearly, because we don't see any. And then, yes, it gets into what you just said too, which is like, well, maybe we're just sort of like ahead of the curve and microbial life exists elsewhere, yada, yada, yada. But Michio Kaku, the physicist, has an example. He breaks it down into type 1, type 2, and type 3 civilizations. And in comparison to humans, a type 1 status civilization would be about 100 or 200 years ahead of us. And they would have basically what he calls solar control, I believe, something like that. And which means that that's a type 1 civilization would be able to harness the power of its star for its own gain.
Right.
A type 2 civilization would be a few thousand years ahead of where we are. And that would be a galactic civilization. It would be able to have
the ants in Quantumania.
Yeah, it would be able to have galactic expansion. And then there's the type 3 status, which is about 100,000 to 1,000,000 years ahead of where we are as humans. And they would be a universal level species, and they would be the ones fucking creating wormholes to fucking go all over the place. But of course, none of that. There's no evidence of any such civilizations out there yet. But who knows? Maybe if we shoot down another fucking paper bag, it won't be a paper bag. But yeah, one thing I found it really interesting that the daughter's name is Joy, because I noticed again on my second viewing throughout the movie, Evelyn says a lot of things like saying my joy. She's trying to save her joy, trying to find her joy. And she's also looking for the joy that isn't a person, the joy in her own life, right? And in the end, the true joy in her life is her daughter. whose name is Joy, and also Waymond. I thought that was just kind of like, obviously it's done on purpose, but
right.
The way they bring it home is like, Evelyn has searched her entire life in our main universe to find meaning and like shed this regret that she's had and all this stuff, when ultimately, she finds out that like it's just, her family that matters to her, and that's what she wants to nurture. And there's also like a lot of mother-daughter stuff obviously in the film as well. Like, I don't want to pretend like that didn't exist, because a mother-daughter relationship is pretty special, I would say, to most people. More so than a mother-son or father-son. It's just a different type of bond a mother has with their daughter. And, because it's also about the shedding of like familial trauma, right? Like, so that's like a huge part of it too. But, so I just wanted to throw that out there. But there is a moment in this fucking movie, dude. And I'm a crier. I talk about it a lot. There is a fucking moment in this movie where I think I've never cried before. The only thing that this competes with is when Cap was dancing with Peggy at the end of Endgame. Because when that happened, I was like a fucking wreck. This was similar in that, and that's in the universe where she's basically Michelle Yeoh, and she's a famous martial artist. Waymond, who is seemingly successful, has come to her show, or come to the premiere of her newest film.
See if she'd recognize him.
Yeah, and they have this little back alley conversation, and he's like, when you left me, I'd hope that you'd give him. Basically, it's the same origin to their lives, except she decided not to go with him. And, she says, oh, you wonder what if we would have been fucking living above a laundromat, worrying about laundry and taxes. And then he goes on this little conversation about how, he basically about the kindness thing, about how, he thinks it's important to be kind and forgiving and all these things. And then he says, so even though you've broken my heart again, in another life, I would have really liked just doing laundry and taxes with you. Oh my fucking God, dude. It is like, oh man, just
it's about the little stuff.
The waterfalls, bro.
Life is fleeting.
Yeah. But just to him, it's like, yeah, that'd have been great. Just doing laundry and taxes. Fuck it. Like, why do you need anything else? But yeah, man, I fucking love this movie. It's honestly,
it's a great one.
I'm like, it's getting a lot of fucking hype for the last couple months because of all the awards it's picked up at all the award shows, and because of the backstories behind, like, Michelle Yeoh being in the film, and boy, fucking Ki Kwan, like, having a revitalization of his career, and all his heartwarming speeches, like breaking people's hearts and stuff like that. But beyond that, it's a really fucking good movie, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that may not like it or understand it because it is kind of wacky and crazy. But when you brush all that stuff aside, you see that it's just a very simple story. And I hope that with its award season fucking domination, that more people are going to be like, oh, this movie won every award known to man. Let me go check it out. And then it'll spark more people to go and watch it, because not only do I think this is the best movie of the year, like by a long stretch, it's one of the best movies I've ever seen, like hands down, and it's probably in my top 5 for sure, like of all time favorite movies at this point, like easily.
It's definitely up there. I don't know. I hate doing lists.
I know. Anything else you want to say about it before we go ahead and give our ratings?
No, it's just a great all around movie. Like you said, it's all about the little things. I've been called a nihilist before in conversations where I was like, nothing matters.
Yep.
But the intention of that is that this is my experience on this planet. I'm not trying to pollute it. I do my best to be a good steward, but enjoy the life that you have. It's gonna suck sometimes. It's gonna be fun sometimes, but I don't know. those who love the most regret the most, but there's nothing wrong with having a little grit in your life.
That's a line out of the movie. Who says that?
I don't remember who said it.
Might have been Jamie Lee. No, maybe it was Wayman. I don't know. But it's a great line.
Wayman, but yeah, it's a great line.
Yeah, a beautiful movie. You know, credit to the Daniels, because I mean, it's just such a creative and like movie, like in every aspect of it. Like it's imaginative.
And this is one, if you like didn't really like it because you didn't understand it, if you watch it a second time, you might actually, you know, like it more. So
I loved it the first time, but now I'm like obsessed. And I was obsessed before, actually. That's not fair to say. Actually, it's funny. My buddy George just messaged me the other day. He was like, I think I have to file for a divorce. Meanwhile, he just got married like last summer. And I was like, why? What happened? He's like, oh, I tried to sit down with Jen, his wife, to watch Everything Everywhere All at Once. And like about an hour in, she made me turn, or half hour in, she made me turn it off. She said she didn't like it. I was like, damn. And then he messaged me again last night. He's like, fucking movie just cleaned up at the Oscars and she still doesn't want to watch it. He's like, papers are filed. But yeah, I could totally understand why this movie wouldn't be for everybody. But all I say is that if you haven't watched it yet, give it a chance. It's got an 8.0 on IMDb right now. And listen, a movie that could make two rocks looking out onto a beautiful view emotional.
Of other rocks.
Yeah. If a movie can make that emotional, it's worth a 10 for me, baby. Perfect score. Let's go.
Oh my God.
Yep.
No.
The second one.
That's wild.
This is the second one I've given. Well, it's really
no
honestly.
Such thing as a perfect movie for me, but
honestly, I believe this is the perfect movie because, you know, for our conversations, I always go into stuff looking for little nitpicky shit that I could talk about. There is not a thing in this movie that I would change. Not a thing in this movie that I dislike. Not a thing in this movie that I think doesn't fit. I really do believe it's like the perfect movie.
Yeah, I 9 is the highest mark I think I'll ever give in this whole series. So that's my 10, I guess. And I don't know, for this one, I think it hits all the marks, except I'm not sure about the rewatchability. I don't know if this is one after the 100th time, I'll still walk away and say, yes, that is definitely a 9 out of 10. So for that, I'll give it an 8.5.
Okay. We're no longer friends.
And I you know, I watched it. This is the third time I've seen it. I watched it and then I was like, oh yeah, we you know, let's review this for sure.
Yeah.
Then watched it again when we reviewed it and then watched it again just now. So
the measure for me is whether or not the emotional beats still have the same impact on me. A lot of the time is how I would gauge it. Maybe it's a stupid measuring stick, but
well, that varies depending on your mood, though, doesn't it? Like,
not really. The things that really get me going, like, generally will always get me going. For instance, I mentioned Cap dancing with Peggy. I will cry every single time. If I think about Captain America, I cry. Okay, so there's that. But because of that scene, so like that will always do that for me. Same with some other little things like, you know, I Love You 3000 and like just the little things that movie did so well. And this is one of those movies for me. As I was watching it a second time, I went into it wondering like, am I going to get emotional at the same places that I did since it's no longer a surprise to me? And sure enough, I did. Like it works. So I don't think that will change. But yeah, I don't know. Love it. Perfect movie. Go watch it if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, give it a shot.
And yeah, so remember, folks, once again, I'm going to quote it. Every new discovery is just a reminder that we're all small and stupid. So be kind and cherish the small speck of time we get. Remember that, folks.
That's right.
But yeah, that's our show for the week. Thank you for listening or watching, whether you're over on Apple or Spotify or any other podcast platforms or over on YouTube. We appreciate it. And you know, if you liked what you're listening to, consider sticking around. We'll be back next week. And we'll catch you then.
How's